with it when you're writing and there's a problem with the world and you don't know how to fix it? There's two solutions, and one of them is shit. One of them is you just change the world, or you pretend that it didn't happen. I call this the Rowling. You got that on camera.
I got that on tape.
Yeah, that's going to show up.
Do you want my channel now or later?
No, it's fine. And I tease because I can tease about Rowling a little bit because I know that those of you that love Harry Potter, I mean, we love things not because they're perfect. We love things for other reasons. And the Harry Potter books are perfect examples of that because people love them kind of despite some kind of egregious flaws in them. I mean, Time Turner. You know, that was a horrendous flaw in the world. It was never addressed, which is why everybody picks on it. You know, like you bring in this thing that allows you to travel in time, and then it's never seen again. What's that? Yeah, it's just like, no. Now, so that is pretty much like you just ignore it. Or you retcon it, which is also like an awful way of handling it. When I ran into this problem, I was working on book one, and I knew that students were going to have to face like an exam, like an in-person oral, verbal, like in-person talking exam at the university. And I worked it in, and then I stopped at one point and I said, hold on, how many students do we have? I know we have this like about 1,000, 1,200 students. If everyone has a 15-minute exam, how much time is that? And I did the math, and it was like 44 days, which is like half of the term would be exams. And I'm like, that can't be, you can't do that. And so at that point, I could say, okay, no more exams. I could just ditch it. But that's bullshit. I mean, you don't just, that's your opportunity to be clever as a writer. Or like for a character, like when a character butts up against something that's really hard in a book, do you remove the obstacle? It's like, oh good, now they're not challenged at all. No, the character has to be clever. They have to be strong, they have to be brave, they have to protag, you know, to overcome an obstacle, and that is what a story is. Similarly, if a world creates a problem for you, that is your opportunity to be clever or brave or strong. And so I went, well, obviously, you can't have a 15-minute interview. It has to be way shorter. I go, how about 3 minutes? 3 or 4 minutes. And I did the math, and it's like, it got down to like 10 days. You could do all the exams in 10 days. But it would be grueling. It'd be like 8 hours a day. And I'm like, well, okay, that's what it's like. And that means out of the 8 span of a term, 1 entire span is spent just on exams. And they're excruciating, and they're totally unfair, and they're not a good assessment method. But that shit happens in the world all the time. I mean, who knows about No Child Left Behind? It's an awful fucking educational thing that has been instituted, and it's stuck with us like a thorn in our tongues because the world does not make rational sense. Once upon a time, there was this involved examination process at the university, but now there are so many students that it cannot be that anymore. So you have this archaic procedure that just sucks for everyone. The masters hate it, the students hate it, doesn't do its job. It's just like the real world. But when I decided that, I'm like, then I went, well, how do you decide when you get to go? And then I go, well, they must draw lots. It's the only fair way. And that gave me a really interesting piece of the world. That whole week was going to be no classes, which gives both the opportunity to like run around and get into trouble, you know, or get away from the university for a couple of days and come back. It enriches the world. This thing that was originally a problem actually makes the world a much better, cooler place if you explore it the proper way, if you find a way around it. How long do I talk for?
As long as you want.
As long as I want?
I think 5, 6 minutes.
5, 6 minutes more? Okay. Yeah, I'll try to do a few shorter answers here. How have I built the interaction with Thoth and Ambrose? It seems that you like it. You screw it up a bunch first. That's how you do it. Originally there was no Ambrose. So I added him in a revision. And then it was kind of like this weak tea, like they kind of like snipped at each other and like pissed on each other's shoes. And like that was the extent of their rivalry. It was like a few paragraphs here and there. And it was just useless and stupid. It was a real Draco Malfoy situation. I mean, and I say that because Draco, like, he's not a really good antagonist. He just kind of is snide. You know, he doesn't really, an antagonist should be a legitimate threat. And Draco, in my opinion, he just kind of pops up. And then it's like, and then he's defeated. He's there just to be defeated. Whereas like, I wanted Amber, eventually somebody said, this is really stupid. You know, why does Kvothe engage in this behavior when all it's gonna do is get him in trouble? And I went, God, that is kind of stupid. I go, it's only going to happen, you know, and they said, this seems kind of petty. And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of petty. But the biggest problem is that there was no threat. And an antagonist, the purpose of an antagonist in a story is to raise the tension of the story, to be a legitimate conflict. And so, I made him a legitimate threat. I thought, well, if I had all the money in the world and a chip on my shoulder and an intolerance for anybody like getting up in my grill, what would I do? And I'm like, oh, it's easy. I destroy him like the little peasant that he is. And of course, how is Kvothe going to respond to that? So badly and so irrationally. Like he just can't let go of that. And so. But yeah, I screwed it up a bunch first, and who helped me figure that out? Beta readers. Always the beta readers. You need the beta readers.
How do you deal with a character that you like that is really important to the story, but they have like a much different background than you and much different personality? Like, how do you write that? Because you can only do so many character sketches to figure out their voice.
How do I write a character who is very different from me? And then you said you only have so many...
Character sketches.
I only have so many character sketches. I'm of the firm belief that people are just people, which is terribly reductionist, but is kind of true, in my opinion. I think that underneath people are just people inside, and some of us have very different flavors of damage, you know, or different opinions, or we come from different places. This is, every author has different things that they're good at, and things that they're bad at. And a big part of being a good author is knowing what those things are. And if you are good or bad at them, you know, you need to know where your talent is in each of these sections. I'm good at language, I'm good at dialogue, and I'm good at extrapolation, which is taking something in the small and then saying, it's like, I've been in front of a crowd, you know, doing a performatory thing. Therefore, it must be like this to be a musician. like, I have been this, therefore this. It seems to me that I could take and base my experience on whatever. That's what I'm good at, and so I don't have a problem writing different characters. Like, because Ari is really, really kind of different from me. A lot of them are really, really, really different from me. They have totally different backgrounds. I don't know. You know who you need to ask that question of? Ask that question of somebody who's bad at it. Because they have to work on it more. I'm bad at plot. So if you want to ask me questions about plot, I really know how it works because it didn't come naturally. You got to think about it like, who knows more about cars? Your friend with a really nice car, or your friend with a really shitty car and he has to keep fixing it? Your friend with the shitty car knows everything about fixing cars, and that's how I am with plot. It's like, I will help you take apart your book and see why it isn't right in terms of pacing and tension, because plot does not come naturally to me. I'm very bad at plot. I don't think about it in the way that the rest of the world does. Okay.